This is a recording as a review to prepare for exam 1 in SPSS 2023. I will try as much as possible to cover the major items or aspects of the material we covered during the lab. So first, we're going to start with an SPSS file that I've prepared over here. And what I will do is I will open that file. Anytime you open an SPSS file, you will have the SPSS opening, and you will be able to see the data view and the variable view. These are the two tabs at the bottom that we have discussed. These two tabs will allow you to do a number of things. And what I like to do basically right at the beginning is to get an idea of how many variables I have, what are these variables, is there any codes, anything missing that I would like to look at? And also from the variable view, I can have a look at how many observations I have, how many records I have. So if we start with the variable view, this is where I can actually see the variables, and I can see that I have 47 variable, starting with ID, then affiliation, PHC. I may not know what PHC at this time, but it's fine. I have PHC region, I have access XXX, which I don't know what it is. Anyway, you can look at all these variables names and ending with the last one being urine analysis. Also, if you remember that this is the variable name, the next thing that comes next to it is the variable type. We talked about the three major types that we deal with. One being numeric, meaning you only enter numbers. The second one is strings, meaning you can enter actual letters. And the third one we discussed is date, where it's a formatted date. So here, for example, I have a variable called date of first visit. It's formatted as date, and if I come to the date and click on the blue square, then it will open and I can see the actual format that was chosen, which is day dot month dot year, meaning 2 decimals for the day, dot 2 decimals for the month, dot and 4 decimals for the year. The other thing that I can look at is the width of the variable and if it has any decimal points. Obviously, if it's a string, it will not have any decimals. If it's numeric, it may or may not have a decimal. The important description is the label, and this is mostly where I'm going to find what the variable stands for. If I need to know more, then it will be here. Then next, I have the values, and this is where any coding scheme that was utilized will appear. So for instance, if I look at affiliation, in the label, it says only affiliation, it doesn't explain much. However, if I come to the code and if I look at the different types of codes, I can see that I have two types of code. One stands for MOPH, the Ministry of Public Health, and two stands for UNRWA. So I have an idea about what affiliation means. This is probably if the center or the clinic is affiliated with the Ministry of Public Health or UNRWA. The last thing we discussed is missing. If I have any code that has to be identified as missing, and we will come to that in a second. So this is a general introduction, just looking at the different variables, getting an idea of what they are. Next, I will go to data view. And usually in data view, what I would like to do is I'd like to scroll all the way down to get an idea how many numbers of records I have, and I have over here 137 records. I have an ID variable, which is always helpful because I can always use it as a way to go back and figure out if there was a mistake. So if you remember, the first thing we talked about is let's try and see if I can figure out all the different variables and variable labels and codes if there is anything of the sort that needs to be done. So you will notice that under PHC here, the label also only says PHC, and there is no coding. So I'm gonna have to explain a little bit what PHC means. PHC stands for Primary Health Care Center. So if I tell you that PHC stands for Primary Health Care Center, and I ask you please to replace the label with Primary Health Care Center, you should be able to come over here and change it to Primary Health Care Center. And that makes it much easier for someone to understand what PHC stands for. Another thing that you will notice is that label here, nationality, is very clear what it is. And if you click on the codes, you will see that we have Lebanese, Syrian, Palestinian, and others. However, the variable was not given an appropriate name. And here I can ask you to give it an appropriate name. So what is an appropriate name for variable that has a label nationality? Well, it can be the same thing, maybe. So I will just call it nationality. Okay. So also, I'd like to point out that one thing that we did is we looked at some codes and we decided that maybe some codes required to be identified as missing. So if you come here, مثلا, we have Lebanese, Syrian, Palestinian, and others, it's fine. If I come to PCC plan and I click here, I have the 0 for the no, the 1 for the yes, but 2 means there is no primary care center plan. So maybe the 2, I want to set it as missing. To do so, then I have to come to the missing column and I have to click on the blue square and I have to specify that 2 is to be counted or dealt with as a missing value. You actually can see that we have some variables that already have missing. So if you look at this variable, this is called delivery onset, and the label is just delivery onset as well. If you look at the different codes, 1 is preterm, 2 is term, 3 is post-term, 4 is abortion, 5 patient that did not follow up, and 6 I don't know. And for specific reason, it was decided that the 4, 5, and 6 will be considered missing. So if you look at the 4, 5, 6, this is the abortion, the patient did not do follow-up, and I don't care. I don't know, I'm sorry, I don't know. So these 3 different entries, the abortion, the no follow-up, and the I don't know, all 3 were considered as missing. If you look at the history of chronic diseases, so X, I recognize it as history. If you're not satisfied, you may come in and change it as history of chronic diseases. And if you look at the different options, you will see that there is 0 for no, 1 for yes, and 2 for I don't know. And you will see that the I don't know was also recognized as missing value. So that covers most of the setup for understanding variable names, the type of variable, the labels, the values, and the missing. Remember, if I ask you to rename a variable, so let's suppose I ask you to rename chronic disease COPD, which is if the patient has COPD, you have to remember that you cannot put space and try as much as possible to make the variable name as short as possible. So you may want to just call it COPD. That's it. This is just as an example. Okay. One thing that we did was also we cleaned the data. And typically the way we clean data, if you remember, I told you, you go variable by variable and you can sort ascending and sort descending just to check if there is any code that is out of the ordinary. So again, sort ascending, sort descending. So far, everything seems عادي. The region of the primary healthcare center, sort ascending, starting with Beirut, sort descending, South Lebanon. Nationality, again, I'm gonna sort ascending and sort descending. Looks regular, there's nothing weird. The date of the visit, I'm gonna sort ascending. Oh, so here you notice that the earlier visit was in 1921. Obviously, this is a mistake. So it's the 14th of June, 1921. It's a mistake. I can come in and fix it. So instead of being 1921, it's 2021. Okay? And now I can sort descending. Date of the study is the same date for all of them. This is when the study was done. PCC plan, again, I can sort ascending, sort descending, just making sure that everything seems reasonable. Age, sort ascending. Here we go. We have an age of 2. This study, I probably should have said something. This is about pregnant women that come to primary healthcare centers, either run by the Ministry of Public Health or by the UNRWA, and they are followed up during pregnancy, and we have tests of follow-up. Well, we'll see the different tests. Also, there is a history of previous pregnancies, etc. So definitely women can not be 2 years of age. That's probably a data entry error, and let's suppose that the actual age is 20 and not 2. And again, you do sort descending, you check the age, making sure everything seems normal. And you can go about that for all the variables, just to make sure that there is no mistake in any of the data entry. The other thing that I can ask you to do is I can ask you to recode a variable into a different variable. And we have worked some of that with the age variable. So I'm gonna go back to the age variable and I'm gonna do sort ascending. You can see that the age starts at 16 and it ends at 44. So I may wanna recode 16 to before 20, 20 to 29, 30 to 39, and 40 to 44. So the way to do that is by using something called the transform and recode into different variable. You will have to pick the variable that you want to recode, and in my example is age. You have to give it a new name, so I'm going to call it age underscore rec for recording or recorded, and you have to click on the change. And then you have to go to the old and new values, and you will see this window opening up, and that's where you're going to specify the limits. If you remember, we said from 16 to 19, so I can go using the range, this one over here, and I say the lowest is 16, all the way up to 19, and I'm going to give it a code of 1. And I click add. Then it's going to be 20 all the way up to 29, and I'm going to give it a code of 2. And then it's 30 all the way up to 39, and I'm going to give it a code of 3. Click add. And the last one is going to be 40 all the way up to 44, and I'm going to give it a code of 4. Okay, and then I click continue, and now by clicking OK, SPSS will make this a new variable, and with it you will probably see your output showing something that was run, meaning that you actually did it. I'm gonna go back to my data view, and remember, every time you make a new variable, it will appear as the last variable in your data set. So I go back to my variable view, I scroll down, I can pick this variable and I can put it next to age because it will be easier for me to work with it. I will give it an appropriate label, age recorded or regrouped or whatever you feel comfortable. I have to give it appropriate codes for the values. So if you remember, one was 16 to 19, two was 20 to 29, and three was 30 to 39, and four was 40 to 44. And that should be it. I always like to double check my work, so I can go to my variable view and look at age, which is over here. It's already sorted up. If it's not, you can make sure to right click and sort ascending. And look at the variable age recorded, make sure that your recode actually worked the way it was supposed to work. And sure enough, it did. Another thing that we also talked about is creating a variable out of the dates. So I have a date of first visit, and I have the date of the study. And maybe I want to know the time lapse between the study and the first visit. So I will also go to transform, and I will also compute this. This time I'm going to use the compute variable. You have to give it a name. The new variable that you created, you have to give it a name. So I'm going to call it time lapse. You can call it whatever you want as long as it makes sense. I'm going to use out of the function the date arithmetic, and more specifically the date diff. And if you remember, the date diff requires that you name the later of the two dates, the earlier of the two dates, and then you specify the units. And that's what I'm going to do. So first I put the date diff over here, and I need to fill the 3 question mark. So first you start with the later of the two dates, which is the date of the study. Then you replace the second question mark with the date of the first visit. And then last, you're going to have to replace with the unit, and I choose to use years. I don't know if years is appropriate. Well, we'll have to check. Once I'm done, I can click OK, but I would like to show you also, remind you that you have the option of clicking paste. And if you do that, then your syntax window will open, and your syntax will have exactly what you requested. And you can highlight this portion, and you can click on the green arrow. And again, your output will show because SPSS is running something. So again, let's go back to our data. And if you remember, I told you Daemon, a new variable appears as the last variable. So I'm going to go to my variable view, scroll down. Here is my time lapse. I'm going to pick it, and I'm going to put it next to the two dates variable because I would like to see what happened. But I'm going to also label it so that I remember. Time between first visit and study. It's enough. I think it's clear. All right, so let me go and look at it. This is my time, and let me just move a little bit. You can see that the visit occurred in 2019. The study was 2023, and therefore 3 years have passed, which is correct. And so you can look at the fact that it actually created all the correct years for how many years passed between the first visit and when the study was done. You may opt to use months, you may opt to use weeks, whatever option you may opt to use is fine. Okay, let's suppose now I want to run some analysis. So maybe I want to see how many of my participants, the age distribution. We go to analyze. We go down to descriptive, we click on frequencies, and then you have this window that is going to open. You pick the variable that you're interested in. So it's age recorded. We put it over here. And you may want some charts with that. And since it's a categorical variable, you either can pick the bar chart or the pie chart. I'm going to go with the bar chart, and I want it to be a percentage. Click continue, and I click OK. And you can see that SPSS has done the analysis on the 137 participants, the distribution according to the age group, the percentage, the valid percent, and the cumulative percent. And in this situation, you can see that the valid percent and the percent are exactly the same because I don't have any missing values. And also you can see that I have the bar chart showing the distribution. Now, if you wanted to do an analysis on a numerical variable, so again, I'm going to click Analyze, and I'm going to go to Descriptive and Frequencies. But this time, I will pick age not as the categorized one, but as the original one. So I will return the age, and I will pick the original age variable. Now, since this is a numerical variable, I would not want to have the frequency table, so I will deselect it. And then I will go to statistics, and under statistics, I will request the mean, the median. I will request the quartiles. I will request the standard deviation, the minimum, the maximum. And it's enough. It's enough for me. So just go with continue. But I would like also a chart. And again, since this is a numerical variable, I have to ask for the histogram. Only the histogram option is available here. And then I can ask to also have the normal curve on top of the histogram. So click continue, and then OK. And so this table will show me the descriptive statistics for age as a numerical variable. The mean is 28.28, the median is 28, standard deviation 6.2, minimum 16, maximum 44, Q1 is 23.5, Q3 is 33%, as is 33 years. Here's the histogram, and with the normal distribution on top of it. Overall, it seems that age has quite the normal distribution. Okay, what else did we do? I may ask you to run an analysis on a part of the data, not all of the data. So maybe I want to look at the Lebanese only and not on everybody. So what you could do is a couple of things. You have the option of going to data and click on split file. When you click on split file, you can pick the nationality variable and you can put it part of the compare groups or organize outputs, either one of those, depending on what you want. And by putting nationality here, you can click OK. Now, everything you're going to do now will have the analysis done separately for the different nationalities. So for example, if I go back and I request a frequency, and let me do a reset, which will reset the whole thing. And if I look for variable, for example, method of delivery, and if I click OK, then what you have is the method of delivery statistics for Lebanese alone, Syrian alone, and Palestinian alone. However, they're all represented in one table. So on top here, you can see that you have 15 Lebanese, 51 Syrian, and 71 Palestinian. And if you start looking at the distribution, you will see that for the Lebanese, 7 were normal delivery, 5 were C-section, and 3 were abortion, for a total of 15, and you can see the percentages. For Syrian, 49 were normal, 1 was C-section, and 1 was abortion, for a total of 51. For the Palestinian, 26 out of the 71 were normal, 35 were C-section, and 10 were abortion. So this method, what it does, it's going to split your analysis into the different sections of the variable that you pick. So I picked it to be nationality. So even if I go back and I request, for example, so I'm going to click on reset, and I'm going to ask for age numerical variable again, and I'm going to unclick display frequency table, and I'm going to go to statistics, request the mean, the median, the standard deviation, minimum, maximum, click continue, and I'm going to ask for histograms, click continue. When I click OK, you will see that again, I'm having the descriptive statistics for Lebanese alone, Syrian alone, Palestinian alone, and I have a histogram for Lebanese alone, Syrian alone, and Palestinian alone. Now, had I chosen the split file again, but not the compare group, rather the organize output, then I would get the same thing, but organized differently. So I'm going to show you that. I'm going to click on the organize, click OK, and then I'm going to repeat, reset. I'm going to ask for the method of delivery and go with OK. And here what you see is, instead of having one table that combines everybody, you have the Lebanese appearing first with their descriptive on method of delivery, the Syrian appearing second with a separate table for the delivery, and the Palestinian appearing third with a table for the method of delivery. If I want to do now any analysis without the computer splitting, I have to go back to data, go down to split file, and click on organize all cases together, click OK. And now if I request a frequency for, let's say, method of delivery, I'm going to leave it as is. You will see that now I get one table for everybody, 137 all together in one table. The other thing that we talked about is if you want to run a separate analysis for one group only. So instead of splitting file, you can go to data and you can click select cases. And here you're going to select cases if they satisfy a certain condition. So you click on if condition is satisfied, click OK. So let's suppose I want to only focus on those that are Lebanese. So I pick the variable nationality, I put it here. Now I don't remember what code was for Lebanese. So what I can do is I go back here, I right click, and I request the variable information. And I can see that the code 1 was for Lebanese, 2 for Syrian, 3 for a Palestinian, and 4 for others. So I can say, sorry, I kind of clicked on the wrong thing. So again, let me repeat. I will go back to nationality, I put it here, and I say equal 1. Then I click continue. And now I leave it filter out unselected. That's what I want. I want to filter them out. I don't want to delete them. I don't want to create a new variable data set. So if you click on OK now, and if I go back and I rerun the frequency for the method of delivery, click OK, you will see that it only did it for 15 individual, and the descriptive only are available for 15. And I know that these are the Lebanese, but it doesn't tell me that those are the Lebanese. And it didn't do it for the Syrian, and it didn't do it for the Palestinian, because anything I'm going to request now will only be done for the Lebanese. So if I go to analyze and descriptive and frequency, and let's say I do a reset, and I ask a question about the history of kidney disease, smoking, for example, and if I click OK, then also notice that it's only doing it for the 15 subjects that were selected, اللي هن Lebanese. Notice that chronic kidney disease does not have missing, but smoking status has 3 missing. So what does that mean is that if you look at chronic kidney disease, 14 said no, 1 said yes, you get percentage and valid percent, which are exactly equal. However, when you come for the smoking status, you will see that for smoking status, you have a total of 12 that appear in the first part of the table, and these are the non-missing. And then under that, you have 3 that appear under missing, and these are the I don't know, meaning that in the data, we specified that the I don't know should be considered a missing and not part of the analysis. In this type of scenario, your percentage will add up to 100 with the missing, but the valid percent will add up to 100 without the missing. So you can see that non-smoker valid percent, previous smoker valid percent, and current smoker valid percent, they add up to 100. So they're adding up to 100 without the 3 that were missing. However, if you want the 3 to be part of the percentage, then you have to look at the percent. Okay? Now, once you're done, you may be asked to save your results. So if you want to save your output, you just click on save and you go down to save as. And like you save any document, you just have to give it a specific place. So document, for me, it's going to be document, and I'm going to go to I have everything under Hani, and then I have courses, and then it's this specific course, which is this one, and this is preparation for exam 1, and that's the new folder. So output, and I may call this output exam 1 preparation Hani, and this is going to be the output. Now the syntax, the same thing. I can ask you to save your syntax. So again, you go down to save as, and it will show you where you want to save it. So again, I'll go to my courses. So I'm just looking for where I want to save it. So syntax, and I want to call it exam 1 prep and Hani, and I save. So I save my syntax, and I'm gonna also save my data set. So before I save my data set, let me remove the selection. So I'm gonna go to data, select cases, and I'm going to say all cases. I'm gonna click OK. So if I go back to my data now, all my data is showing. And again, save as, and preparation for exam, remember. And I'll just put Hani towards the end, save. This way I have worked on the data, I've done the multiple things we talked about, and I saved. I hope you find this review helpful. Thank you.